Hey guys, what's up? It's the Strong Boys 19 here, and this is another episode for Classic Albums Revisited. As always, it is a segment where I'll be reviewing one of my favourite albums of all time, and as you can see, I have a special guest with me for the second time, and this guy is Jake Bristow, who I've recently talked about briefly on one of my previous videos, so we are going to be reviewing together for the first time one of our favourite metal albums ever, and that is City by Strapping Young Lad.
The almighty Strapping Young Lad with the almighty Devin Townsend.
Yeah, Devin Townsend. Everybody knows who Devin Townsend is, but with Strapping Young Lad, I will have to say that this band is definitely where Devin is presenting to us who he truly is as a musician for the first time, and City is the band's second studio album, although the first album was Heavy as a Really Heavy Thing, which is mostly a solo album, but it does feature some occasional musicians, including Jed Simon, who played guitar on a few tracks. But after the release of Heavy as a Really Heavy Thing, it did not sell well whatsoever because it was selling very, very little, which led to Devin going back to Vancouver, Canada, to work at a restaurant. So at that point, it did not go very well for him. But before he made that album, he was with Steve Vai on an album called Sex and Religion. After that era of Heavy as a Really Heavy Thing, Devin decided to move to LA and to form Strapping Young Lad. We've got, as I said, Jed Simon on guitar, Byron Stroud on the bass guitar, and the Atomic Clock himself, Gene Hoglan, on the drums. The album was released to Century Media Records. Daniel Bergstrand produced it alongside Devin Townsend. So, what do you think, Jake, about City?
It's a cracking album. Because I heard it a while back and trying to remember how many years ago now. It might have been about 5, maybe 10 years ago or something like that. Because the first time I heard Strapping Young Lad was with the song Love. And I remember seeing the video for Love and just seeing Devin Townsend. That's how I knew about Devin. Then I heard City sometime around that era, sometime after that. And just remembering being so in love with the production and just how heavy it is and how sometimes it can be a bit melodic in places as well, because Devin, as well as being heavy on his vocal, doing heavy vocals, his guitar and all that work, he can also be very melodic as well. So that's what I love about Devin Townsend, and I love about Strapping Young Lad. Because Strapping Young Lad's more of his heavy thing, which is more of his heavy band. And then when he went on to do Devin Townsend Band and Project, and now just Devin Townsend, he's gone a bit more on the softer side of his music. But all in all, he can do whatever, and this album is a testament to that.
I can definitely agree with that. It is not only for many fans as the best album in Strapping's discography, besides Devin citing Alien as his favourite, but this album is a big landmark in the industrial metal genre. And I would safely say that while it isn't Devin's favourite, I could see why a lot of the fans say that City is his best with Strapping Young Lad. But with my experience with City, I was revisiting back the industrial metal scene, revisiting bands such as Rammstein to Fear Factory. But when I was going into Devin Townsend, finally, I was listening to City for the first time. I had not heard anything like this, and that was just one of those albums that blew my mind when I had first listened to it. I had never discovered any industrial metal album this intense and powerful and such a frenetic monster of an album. So I gotta say that City is immediately becoming one of my new high favourite metal albums, at least in the top I would say in the top 25.
Yeah, definitely. It's become one of my favourites. I had to listen to it again to get ready for when we were going to do this, and I was just like, wow, every song. I just liked every song, like, done. Favourite song, well, we'll get on to that when we start talking about the tracks. But all in all, the album I do love. I also love Alien. I love Strapping Lad. I wish I got to see him at Download 2006. Never did. So whoever's rubbing it in right now, then by all means you can rub it in. Yeah. If you want to listen to Devin Townsend before Devin Townsend, I mean, obviously Steve Vai and then Strapping Young Lad. He's done other projects, which a mate of mine will talk about if I ask him again. He'll be like, no, you forgot this, when I was tagging myself in the picture of him when I met him last year.
So, without any further ado, let's go into the entire album track by track. So the first track is Velvet Kevorkian. It has these brief noises of some kind of like an industrial machinery clanging, and then when the band explodes, that totally presents the overall sound and production style of this album. Devin's going straight to the point with his vocals and his brief lyricism. Fuck sleep, fuck all of you, and can you believe this shit, people? You know, his voice was distorted whilst the maddening chaos begins the sound of what is going to become for this album.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that. When I heard the 1 minute and 17-minute track with all the clanging, the machinery and all that in it, with all the industrial sound, what you hear in industrial metal, it sort of reminded me of Godflesh's first album, Street Cleaner, with like the first song, like Rats, how that starts off. And then if you put like Rats on and you put this song straight after it, and then it'll totally go, I think. But yeah, this song, yeah, like I said, it's only 1 minute 17, but it's still, yeah, like I'm just gonna, like I said, I already got all the songs up. Yeah, basically, yeah, fuck sleep, fuck all of you. Basically, just telling the world, look, piss off.
That was really the kind of personality, but in a really passionate and a comedic fashion, because a lot of the lyricism on this album deal with Devin's own aggressive, expressive feelings, but with him being a member of Strapping Young Lad, he just puts in his own style and puts in a lot of these comedic ways at the same time. The whole purpose of Strapping Young Lad is a presentation of just saying, you know, fuck everything and just, you know, not let anybody get in your way.
Yep, I definitely agree with that. Just don't let people push you around, and what if you do feel like you're angry or anything, just put this album on or album like it, and everything will just wash away.
Yeah. Velvet Kevorkian, brilliant brief opener, which leads into one of my favourite Strapping Young Lad songs of all time, which is All Hail the New Flesh, with the opening sound of the guitar riff, a few seconds of blast beats, and then the song just goes straight to the point with one of the most catchiest and memorable pieces of music, and especially with Devin's vocals that are melodic yet really pushes into his perfect range of his screams. It is definitely one of the best Strapping Young Lad songs.
Yeah, it's just like you said, the blast beats, and all of a sudden it's still heavy. The blast beats are gone. Everyone's like, oh yeah, I love blast beats, and then all of a sudden it's like, it's just a mind-blowing track. And also I'm looking at the lyrics, and there's like the first one goes, hey, I'm gonna fuck this shit up. It's like, yes, by all means, you know, fuck this place up and everything. If Strapping Young Lad ever did reform, which I don't think it's gonna, or if Devin actually next year plays it at Bloodstock or wherever he's going to be playing, you should definitely play this track because it'll be great.
All Hail the New Flesh is always one of our favourite Strapping Young Lad songs of all time. It has its own darkness, its own feel, and the chorus is completely memorable, especially with the big breakdown part of the bridge section. Track number 3, which is possibly my favourite, besides All Hail the New Flesh, of this album, called Oh My Fucking God.
I love this one as well. It's absolutely brilliant. Like in the chorus where he goes, "Oh my fucking God." It's like, yes, we need a track like this. Yes, we need something like this. Just shout it. If he ever plays it, if it ever gets played live, even if there's a band covering it, but it'd be a lot better coming from his mouth. It's a lot better coming from his mouth because with Strapping on that, it's like he gets his anger out on this album and the other albums after that. This one, I think he's just getting it all out at once. This song, all out at once.
Oh My Fucking God is definitely the most chaotic song that I've heard from this album. Just opens with the brief sample of, "Well, gentlemen, a great deal of money has been invested in this project and we cannot allow it to fail." And then with Gene Hoglan's brilliant drum introduction, and when the band explodes with Devin's scream, I was just so surprised by how over the top it sounded, especially with the verses where Devin goes really insanely fast in his lyrics. I couldn't focus on what's going on and what he's saying. And then after the chorus with some more chugging riffs, the bridge section is pure monstrous noise, but in a brilliant way, with a lot of these industrial noises in the background all over the place. It was just a big, frantic masterpiece that I think it is a song that not many fans would regard as, one of the best, but I think it is one of the greatest Strapping Young Lad tracks.
There's like I mentioned, like this can be a track you can just stick on. I mean, you can stick the whole album on and get your anger out, but just stick that one on and you're fine.
So when I had first listened to this song, I was just so blown away by it. I just kept playing it on repeat, on repeat, on repeat. Sometimes that I would increase the volume and turn up the bass, and just to feel the aggression, pressing my hands on the headphones deeper. So, Oh My Fucking God is another gem of a song. So this leads to track number 4, which is Detox.
That's my favourite track. That's the first one I heard from that album, and I just remember hearing it and just hearing the lyrics like, "Play that stupid piece of shit." And like, what?
Detox opens with some more of the brilliant chugging riffs, and what I love about this song is that it feels really tight and rhythmic, especially with the double bass drum skills from Gene's drumming, and with the guitar riffs that builds a lot of groove, especially onto the various sections later into the track, with some more simple and punishing style riffing. And Detox, with its music video as well, suits that kind of atmosphere and presentation.
Great song. It's heavy. It kicks you in the face, kicks you in the balls, kicks you in the ass. Overall, the song, like you said, with Gene's drumming, it's on point. Everything's on point with this song. Devin's vocals, the guitars, the bass, the drums. Obviously, Gene Hogan's a beast on the drums. I know a lot of people say that, he's one of the best drummers. I agree, he is one of the best drummers. Some people are like, "Oh, I don't see how," but if you listen to Strapping Young Lad and Dark Angel and Death, he's been in tons of bands. He's in Testament at the moment. He's been drumming for such a long time, and his technique that he does, how most drummers, they do it just additionally like this. He's like this. He's got hi-hat there, the snare. He's got like 2 ride cymbals on each side, and it kind of... Because you never know in any of the songs he's playing, you don't know which one he's hitting.
Yeah, he plays very openly instead of playing like a lot of other drummers would do.
He's more open, so closed off. If he was closed off like that, then it might be a completely different album overall. But since he's like open with his drum and he's got his own technique, it just works.
Definitely is another big highlight, not only just because of Devin's vocals and guitar riffs, but Gene's drumming to this album is such a brilliant combination. He has his own skill and precise driving force as a drummer, and has his own brilliant fills and ideas of which piece could work, of this riff or that riff, and to combine various skills of his playing into a big package of stellar musicianship.
That's why Devon's one of my favourite musicians, because, like I said, he can do all sorts. He can do something really heavy like this, something as melodic as Why, but even though he's got that death metal vocal in there, but we'll get on that another time. But this is before he did that.
Yes.
His over-the-top screams, his over-the-top vocals, but some people might complain about it. I don't complain about it because it's Devon. I love Devon. He can go as over the top as he wants. He doesn't need anyone's permission. And with this, he goes over the top and it bloody works.
Detox is just a song that we can just talk about a lot, but we have to go into the later tracks, which leads to Home Nucleonics, really aggressive and quite like Oh My Fucking God, but Devon just goes all round mental on this one.
Yeah, that's what I've noticed. He's just like shouting and screaming, playing the guitar. Like you got the chugs and the open notes and the drumming as well. Gene's drumming, Byron's bass and Jed's guitar, and it all complements each other because it's an aggressive song like Oh My Fucking God. An aggressive song and just makes you want to raise your fist in the air and just your mates and just put your arms around your mate's shoulders and just headbang, man.
Home Nucleonics is definitely a very, very good follow-up to Detox, which continues that insanity and the mentality of the experience of this album, and then we go into track number 6 called AAA, which apparently, if I can remember correctly, it was a song Devon wrote with almost all of the strings tuned down to drop A.
Okay, that makes sense. Because he did that with, the song Deadhead from Devon Townsend band. And it's all like CG, 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 or whatever the hell he tuned it to. It's like, what? I think I want to learn this song now. It's just like, it's the same tuning. It's on as, what's the tuning? A.
AAA presents a lot more of its darker roots, and with vocals at first being really gentle and like quite mysterious, and then the tone of the song really builds itself into another powerful song. And I think, like Detox, that has a lot of its grooviness, and some of the riffs strangely remind me of something like from a Korn album. These riffs that are very basic builds a lot of catchiness.
All these songs are catchy. Yeah, Detox is very catchy. That's what drew me to that song. It was very catchy. AAA is very catchy. Like I mentioned, Deadhead with the tuning from Accelerated Evolution. Thought I'd just get that album out there. No one heard it. But we're talking about Strapping Young Lad, and this song AAA, which, okay, it's on my thing. What name was he going with when he went AAA? I don't know.
It was something really unusual, but the more I thought about it, it started to make sense.
Yeah, well, I might have to listen to that song again just to get more sense out of the name. Or when I see him again, I'm like, what's AAA on City by Strapping Young Lads?
So that leads to the next song, which is Underneath the Waves. So Underneath the Waves, some parts of this track feels thrashy, and it's still strong as with just the whole entire album, but there's still a lot of the vocals on Devon that he was in full control of his vocals, and with the rest of the band, they have their own machinery, they have their own craft. I think Underneath the Waves is another stellar piece of track.
You don't need very much in the song itself. Devon's in control of his vocals. Most vocalists can't keep control of the vocals and end up losing it. But with Devon, that's a completely different story. He's been doing this for years. When you think he's lost control, he hasn't. He's just changing his tone. The tone on every song is the same, but he's always kept that control. And especially with Underneath the Waves, yeah, he's definitely kept control. When it's gone heavy, because you're thinking, oh, is he going to match up with the guitars and everything? Yes, he matches up with the guitars, matching with everything that's on that song and this album in general.
another excellent song that follows the rest of the tracks. The next track is a cover, Room 429, which is a cover of the Cop Shoot Cop cover. And to be honest, I've never heard the original yet, but I'll have to dive into that. But I think, even though that this song is like a step back from the over-the-top mentality of most of this album, this one softens its heaviness, a different type of sound of a song. I think it still fits with the overall theme of the album.
I never heard the original, and I hadn't even heard of Cop Shoot Cop. I don't know who they are, and I looked them up, and like an old rock band from, I want to say the 70s and 80s, or might just be the 80s. I'm not entirely sure. I might have to go listen to the original and then play their cover side by side, or at least one after the other, and see what the differences is. But with this one, what I've got, it's still heavy, but it's not overly heavy like you would get with the rest of the tracks. I'm not saying that's like cutting that one out and say, oh, they're all overly heavy, except for that cover. No, it's heavy. Devin's vocals haven't gone over the top or anything like in the last ones, which obviously, like I said, is vocals. If they go over the top, it's fine because it matches the music. If I did it, it probably wouldn't match the music.
Yeah.
Wouldn't just go blah, 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 blah. But with Devin and this cover, yeah, I really like the cover, but then I need to listen to the original and give you my verdict.
Yes. So it is a cover that is different to the other tracks on this album, but I personally think it's a cover that Devin makes it a sound of his own. You know, especially like with many other greats that have made brilliant renditions of tracks that are different from the original. But I really enjoyed this album's piece of a cover. It may be possibly my least favourite, but there isn't anything bad about this album whatsoever. Room 429 is very, very good for what it is, and then the continuation of the sound's darkness ends with a track called Spirituality, which Spirituality contains more of the long, droning guitar chords that goes throughout the song, and Devin finishing his thoughts about his hatred of everything, especially with these lyrics of all you sick, stupid people. And this song is pretty intense. It's an intensifying, more of an experiment, and the industrial samples and the background noises, not just on this song, but on previous tracks, really presents and matches the tone of this album, and I think Spirituality a brilliant closer.
Yeah, definitely, and it's also the longest track on this album, with being 6 minutes and 35 seconds. Yeah, like you said, with the background noises, that's what you get in a lot of industrial metal bands albums. You get that certain sort of background noise, and it always continues on into each song, and it's continuing on even after the last song's just played. And you can definitely hear it now. I heard a lot of like little bits of industrial noise at the end. It's a brilliant closer. I do agree, it's a brilliant closer. And like I said, I'm going to mention Devin live again. If he plays this live, brilliant. I'll be happy.
I will be really satisfied if Devin would play something like this live, because I know that he has been coming back to some of the Strapping Young Lad songs live, especially like All Hail the New Flesh and Detox, from what I've seen on the 70,000 Tons of Metal show of him with his band playing some strapping songs, and the crowd was just so into it. I love Strapping Young Lad as a band, but obviously after the departure of Strapping, Devin explores his own nature and identities with many different concepts and experimentalisms with whatever he wants to make in his own creative mind. The thing about Devin being such a versatile artist, because with Strapping Young Lad, it's like its own merit and personalities, but for what Devin's been going through personally, it's something really, really different, and that he was a bipolar disorder musician, and that he was diagnosed back in 1997, and that led him to go into different ways of experimentalism and to make later albums with different emotions to feels and different musicians. So I will always give Devin a lot of love and respect for him being such a true artist in himself, not just because he was a strapping young lad, but I love the way that he can think of a piece of music in a way that he wants to make a piece of music.
I give him a lot of love and respect because, again, going back to when I met him, I had a picture of him, and afterwards I just gave him a hug because I was like, I will give this man a hug because he's done so much, not just in the metal scene, but just in music in general. Like, he's done things with Steve Vai, Strapping Young Lad, Devin Townsend Band, Devin Townsend Project, just Devin Townsend just himself. Everything he's done has just been brilliant. It's everything he's done, all the music he's done, everything he's been on. He's done, like, not just him recording his own music, but he's also done music for other bands. And he did As the Past is Burned by Lamb of God, and he played guitars on one of their tracks, The Devil in God's Country. So that just shows you he'll help out other musicians. And he's also done a couple of albums with Graw, countless bands, and he even did a track with the drummer from The Sugar.
Yeah.
With All Goes You, they did that song together. That just shows you how talented he is. And yeah, I'd give him a lot of love and respect. And if any of us get the chance to do anything with him, it'd just be like a dream, because you'd be like, what is this? I'm doing something with Devin. This is a dream, right? And you realise, no, it's a reality. This album never got made. I don't think we would have ever gotten a heavy album. There's a lot of heavy albums. Like, obviously, you get a lot of heavy albums in the death metal scene, the thrash metal scene, doom metal scene, black metal scene. Industrial metal doesn't really get talked about, but if we're going to mention an album in the industrial metal scene, I definitely say City by Strapping Young Lad, because every song from start to finish, they're heavy, they're aggressive, it gets your anger out, and overall, it's just a fantastic album, and I suggest people go and listen to it.
Indeed. So, City by Strapping Young Lad is always a beast of an album, and they've never made one bad album, but Alien is another big favourite for me. But for anyone that really wants to get into this kind of sound of industrial metal, I will recommend City by this band. And of course, with some other albums, say like Demanufacture from Fear Factory to a Ministry album, Godflesh, etc. The production is absolutely fantastic. I love the very precise tone of the guitar work. The distortion was brilliant, and same with the drums, especially just because of how unique Gene Hoglan is. The bass is so consistent right from the start to the end, and of course with Simon's guitar work, that is just as brilliant. That grows the passion and the focused mindset of making something like this. This is definitely an album that I highly, and Jake, will recommend to anybody that wants to get into industrial metal as a whole. So that is definitely a big milestone album. We would give a lot of respect to the rest of the band for being so dedicated and a great bunch of musicians to make music like this that pioneers and grows its history of this particular genre. So that is all we have got for this review for City by Strapping Young Lad. A big thank you to Jake for participating.
Thank you very much for having me. I just want to add, what I love about the album as well is the musicianship. They all complement each other.
By the way, I know I've mentioned this before, but definitely check out Jake's YouTube channel, the description below. He has been making different videos and episodes on his series called Jake's Metal Chat. So if anyone that doesn't know about the show, Jake, tell the viewers what it is.
Basically, I just chat to metal musicians from all over the place. Well, the first one I have was David Gregor from the band Modest Scold, which is another band I can recommend. There's Holocaustin, which is a Bristol death metal band, really good mates of mine. I've had John from Incantation. I've had you on the 4th episode. I have to mention you because you're right here, otherwise you'll be like, Cam, who gave me the idea. And then I've had a mate of mine named Kelly, Finnish musician from the band Solifus. Does all the vocals for Solifus, and that's a great band. But overall, strapping young lad, highly recommended. City, highly recommended. Devon Townsend, highly recommended.
Yes.
Please give him some love.
Yes, that's all we have to say about that. So, that is it. Like I said, subscribe to Jake's YouTube channel, link in the description. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll keep you guys posted for more videos in the near future.
In the future.